Welcome back to another episode of Time is Fish, and as always, my name is Daniel Nilsson and I'm going to be your host. Today we're going to take a plunge into the world of European bass fishing, and with us we have one of Europe's most skilled bass anglers, and that is none other than Lukas Riplinger. Lukas is an incredible predator angler, and since many years now he has followed his passion for bass and also represented Germany several times during the Black Bass World Championship. We will get to know Lukas, where he and his passion comes from, how he gravitated towards bass, and how last year he made the life-changing shift and moved to Sardinia, Italy to follow his dream and become a full-time bass guide. Now the question that should be on everyone's mind is how that Germany, a country that seemingly doesn't really have bass, can compete and time again end up high on the scoreboard against teams like the USA. Is it because a European predator angler has some advantages from pike, perch and sander fishing when fishing for bass? Well, we will soon find out. We will also get into the interesting topic of fish behavior. We're going to talk about different techniques, lure colors, and all of that good nerdy stuff that you all love. As you can hear, we have a loaded episode in front of us, so let's just cut the crap and get along with it, because you all know by now, time is fish. Okay, welcome to the show, Lukas Riplinger from Germany, but now from Sardinia. Welcome.
Hey, buongiorno from Sardinia. Hey, I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, and you're a quite unique guy, so it's gonna be a fun talk here and like kind of break down who you are, and also talk a little bit about bass fishing in Europe, which is super exciting, actually.
Absolutely. It's a big thing. I would say out of Germany, where I originally come from. The bass fishing is not super well known. I don't know how it is in Sweden, but when you just give a little bit of an overview about Europe, there is a lot of this bass fishing going on, quite around the corner, to be honest. So,
Yeah, I think a lot of people also in Sweden don't really understand. I mean, how close bass fishing is, because a lot of Swedes look at America or Japan for inspiration when it comes
of
to bass
course,
fishing. But I mean, we have it in house basically. It's just a 2.5
absolutely.
hour flight.
Yeah, definitely. So when you see, you have Spain, you have Portugal, you have Italy, you have France. I would say that's the main countries for well-known bass fishing, but also there is in a parts of Slovenia, in some parts of Croatia, Hungary, and stuff. So there is a lot of bass fishing going on in Europe, and as you said, it's more or less around the corner. It's not far, and especially here, Sardinia, what is one of the best areas and places to fish for bass. It's really close. I think from Sweden, it's a set around 2.5 hour flight, and I think more or less all around Europe you're flying just around 2, maximum 3 hours.
Yeah, it's impressively close, and I went to Sardinia like 2 years ago just on vacation, and I knew there was bass there, but it was only just a weekend vacation. But I really regret not bringing my bass rods because
Yeah, I can
just
understand that.
just running from the shore would be cool there. But well, we're gonna get
Yeah.
into that a little bit. But something with you, it's like it seems like if like what you project, you really like predator fishing in general. It's pike, perch, sander, and of course the bass. But like you basically like all freshwater predators is basically my what I yeah, the image you project.
Yeah, definitely. So that's where I come from. So in the end, I think I start pretty normal, as a lot of fishermen's, also fishing girls. I get introduced to fishing from my dad and my mom. So they are both fishermen,
Oh, cool.
and so I start from the small beginning as a kid, and then I grow up and yeah, was addicted to fishing from day one. And so I grabbed my bike and drive to the nearest waters when I was younger, and then yeah, then it starts that that I getting more and more into it, and my parents getting less into fishing. So I
Mm.
have also two sisters, and the whole family thing that takes a bit of time away from my parents. But I stayed to fishing all my life, and then of course the predator fishing. With artificial lures was what catched me in the end. So I started, of course, with float fishing and all that stuff, but then it went really quick to predator fishing, and really love it. And then I really start to focus on that, and then I was all my young age I was fishing just for predators, and then when I start my job 12 years ago now, I started my job in a big fishing shop in the south of Germany, in Freiburg. And that was also the beginning for the bass fishing for me. So before it was always in my mind, but I didn't have the chance, and I was quite young. I started to work with 16 in the shop, so I was not able to do a lot of trips before to bass. So I had it just in my head and in my mind, a bit like you said. I like a lot of European fishermen. I just saw it in magazines or videos in the USA or in Japan, but it was also for me not really clear that it's super close. And then when I started my job, then I learned a lot of, then I meet a lot of people, and I learned a lot about the bass and how close you can go fishing for bass. And honestly, I caught my first bass like 10-15 minutes away from my house
What?
in Germany. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
secret lake, but
but there is bass in Germany.
no, there are. I live really, really close to the French border. So where I usually come from it's in a triangle from Germany, France, and Switzerland. So I'm
Mm.
really close in all that in all that countries. And yeah, somehow there went some bass into some private lakes around the borders. Let's say it like this.
Okay, sneaky.
And yeah, the fish they finding their ways, man. No, and that was the first bass I ever caught, and from that on, it was done for me. That was the fish that catch me the most.
Ah,
And
cool. How did you catch it?
the first one was actually really traditional on a weightless wacky worm.
Oh, okay. But
So
were
it
you
was
actually
really
going for bass when did you know
yes,
there
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
bass there? Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there was bass in the lake, and it was definitely a target. So
Yeah.
it was not an accident.
Ah, pretty cool. How big
Yeah.
bass do you get up there in the north of France?
You can catch fish around 2 kilo plus there,
Oh, sure.
so 50 centimeters. So I need to be a bit careful. I know that a lot of people in the northern parts of Europe and also in Germany are looking more at the length and not at the weight. So for
Hmm.
the bass fishing is more normally the weight that you're talking about. But in this case, I try to also focus a bit on the length. And I would say a 2 kilo fish is usually a fish around 50.
Hmm.
So it a little bit depends on the time of the year when you catch them, but usually a 50 is a 2 kilo fish usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, and really close to the borders of Germany, in France, you have really a lot of opportunities for bass fishing. So I would say
Oh, cool.
into close to 4 hours drive, you have some opportunities with nice fish. And that was for me also the beginning, but really quick it went also for me down to Italy. So I started fishing in the northern part of Italy for bass, what is a super, super nice area with a
Hmm.
lot of different waters, lakes, river systems, and stuff. So that's also pretty nice. Um,
You can have a lot of
and yeah,
fishing from the bank up in the north of Italy.
yeah, there north of Italy is more or less just bank or belly boat or kayak. Of course, with a small john boat is also nice, but with the big boat you have nearly no chances there, and it's also really not necessary. So the lakes are small, and you have to be more sneaky. So often the water is quite clear. So shore fishing and also belly boat kayak or whatever is the better way usually to catch them, and it's also really really fun. So you fish a lot in really in really thick cover, and in small rivers with a lot of trees and lily pads and stuff like this. So
Ah,
that's
cool.
quite cool. Yeah, I love that.
But did you go down there with a boat, or did you just go down there fishing from the shore and stuff like that?
The
Just
first
swinging it?
times I go, yeah, the first time I go from the shore, and then we started to make some trips with the belly boat. So yeah, as you know, the fishing world is quite small. So I quick had contact with a lot of other fishermen, like for example Mark Petrovsky from Ilex. It's a really close friend of mine,
Mm.
and we go together to some lakes in the north. So he had already some contacts in north of Italy back then, and I took him the first time to Sardinia. So it is like always the friendship thing that grows your uh, also your horizontal when it comes to bass fishing and or to fishing at all. So that was how I started. And yeah, now it is 11 years ago that I went the first time also to Sardinia,
Ah,
and
cool. And,
that
and now
gives
you're
me
back there, and now you live there, and you actually work there.
exactly. I went from that on. I went every year at least once, usually twice, or sometimes also more times there, and also for tournament fishing and stuff. So Sardinia was in the last 10, 11 years a really uh, a place in my heart and where I also went a lot. And then when I decided last year to make a new step in my life. My first idea was just to make to make a bit of a off time, like 3 4 months here in Sardinia, just for myself. Um, but then, yeah, how it is usually, the life goes on, and the things went in the right way, and now the I had the opportunity to to move here and to make my living out of bass guiding. So I worked together with Sardinia Bass World with Marco, who is already since I think 4 years here on the island, a really well-known guide with a lot of experience, nice rental boats as well. So he have quite a nice business, and he gave me the opportunity to work with him together. What was for me honestly like a dream. So
Hmm.
I guided before also in my home waters for perch, pike, sanders, and so the guiding business I really like guiding. I like to visit new people to experience nice catches with the people to bring the people to their dream fish. That's something that makes me happy as well. So the guiding himself was a job that I really liked before, and to combine that with the bass fishing was for me like the perfect match. And so yeah, that's the move that I did this year.
Yeah, that's an impressive move, and it's a big one also. But I mean, just moving to Italy is like dream come true. Italy is just such a fantastic
Yeah,
place, and Sardinia is so rich in
absolutely.
history and everything. But what do you think
Yeah.
makes Sardinia stand out from the other bass lakes in Europe? What is the difference in Sardinia?
Mm, yeah, first of all, I think the biggest difference is that you have on Sardinia a couple of different kind of lakes. So you have on one island, more or less close to each other, lakes that combine that typical that you also know in Spain or Portugal, that rocky, rough style of fishing, like with a lot of rocks in lakes where you don't have really a lot of structure when it comes to trees or stuff. But you have on the other side as well also lakes that are really just punching paradises where you can really fish into cover, where you can use also all that kind of techniques that you use in thick structures. And it's super nice also from the point of the nature, and it's really a lot of fun to fish there. So the combination to have all these different kind of waters is really nice, and of course the size of the fish here. So you have really a good chance to catch a really nice big fish here. So in the last weeks we had always fish around 52 kilos nearly in every tour that we got. So
Wow.
we had a couple of them in some tours. So we had amazing day in June with nearly 12 kilos in the top 5 fish. So
Oh,
that was
shit.
all fish above 2.1 or something. So really amazing fishing with big fish. There are lakes on the island that are smaller that you cannot enter with big boats. There are even bigger fish inside.
Ah, cool.
So Sardinia is an island that have a lot of opportunities, and that's, in my opinion, one of the biggest points that stands out. And of course, and that's a really important point for me as well, Sardinia is not super well known. What is on one side a good thing, on the other side a not so good thing. It comes always from which angle you look at it. But you have no, you can nearly say no fishing pressure on the lakes. What is really, really, really rare for me in Europe. So I think everyone who is fishing around the Netherlands, but also in Germany on well-known waters, they know how pressured just these lakes are usually and what this makes to the fishing and the effect to the fish. So I think you in Sweden have a bit more lakes and structures that are also not really touched, but on the popular waters, I'm pretty sure you have also a lot of pressure.
We have pressure, but it's nothing like in Europe. We are very blessed up
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Even the popular lakes like Vänern and stuff, they have a bit of
yeah,
pressure, but it's, I mean, you can go out when there's the most amount of people and you won't see a boat all day. So
yeah.
it's
So
a
then you
difference.
are, yeah, you're more or less in the same situation. No, that's really it's really nice to see that the fishing pressure on the lakes is not too high, and that's something that is, as I said, I think it's really rare in Europe to have lakes where you are most of the time alone on the water, and that's a really nice thing, and that's a really, for me, that's still something that is important to cover or to save that in a kind of way. So I think, of course, the point that it is the island, that it's not easy to come here with your own boat. You have always to take a ferry, what is cost quite an amount of money. It's a long run for a lot of people. So I think that's the main reason why you have not a lot of fishing pressure here. And the guides here on the island, we have 4 guides on this island that are guiding on black bass waters. I think that's quite okay. So you can really share the waters together without disturbing each other, and everyone can do his job. And that's, for me, that's a really, really good way to, I would say, have an overview about the fishing pressure of the lakes and to secure also a really nice piece of nature that is not too hammered from touristic fishermen. But also, all in all, you see that the tourism in Sardinia is more or less always concentrated to the coast. So it's in the middle of the island. There is more or less nothing. Of course, there are some campers and stuff, but when you go to the beaches and to the cities close to the coast, then it's crazy. Now
Yeah.
in when it's holiday times, there are millions of people. That's crazy. But inside the island, you not feel it really at all.
How is the paperwork for fishing there? Because I remember when we fished in the YPC Bass, the paperwork just to get the license and everything, I think was very difficult compared to other countries. Was my experience. How is the paperwork to get a license and all of that? Is that easy in Sardinia?
No, that's true. Italy is in that point a little bit more complicated. But you talk about Bolsena, that
Yeah.
was last time. And Bolsena is special. So Bolsena
Okay.
is, there you have to have 2 licenses. You have to have a region license and then also the license for the lake himself. So that's 2 different kind of license. And they are on Bolsena. They are really focused on to stick onto the rules. Honestly, when I talk to a lot of locals there, they are a bit, let's say, a bit disappointed about that. So the police, I think, takes it a little bit too serious. So they are really, really looking for a lot of stuff that they can find to give you a fine there. So give you
Yeah, that
tickets.
was my impression also. It
So
was.
they're really looking for it, but that's especially in Bolsena. So
Ah,
no, here in Sardinia it is a bit easier. You have 2 different kind of ways. So if you're just making holidays and want to go 1 or 2 days fishing, the easiest way is usually to contact your hotel or whatever of kind of accommodation you're into and ask them if they can organize the license for you. Or the other way is to just organize the license by yourself. There is a email address that you really can easily find on the internet, or usually ChatGPT and the AIs right in these times can easily give you that email address, and then you can write there and can get the Sardinian license. You need the freshwater license there, and there's also another opportunity. If you have already a license in another part of Italy, so if you're fishing on Bolsena, or if you was in Bolsena or in the northern parts, that license are also counting on Sardinia. It's in Italy in the most areas that it is that if you have one license, it counts in the public waters around the whole country.
Cool.
So you just have to be careful that it's not a private pond or lake or river, whatever. And the sea fishing is, for example, here in Sardinia, the sea bass fishing is also really nice, but you fish a lot there in lagoons. And in the lagoons, they are usually private, so you need an extra license. But when you want to go just on a normal freshwater lake, also a license from another part of Italy can be, they're also counting there.
Cool. Because you mentioned Portugal and Spain and France and Italy, but I mean also South Africa is a big player on the bass scene, and I think we should talk a little bit about the competition fishing, because you have represented Germany in the Bass World Cup. Is the name or Bass?
It's the Black Bass World Championship. So
World Championship,
exactly. So that's the official FIPS's World Championship, what is like a real official event. Of course, it's not as big as the Bassmaster Classic, where they usually say it's the World Championship. But the FIPS's World Champs are the official World Champs in all part of fishing. So that means also for fly fishing, pole fishing, they are all covered under the FIPS's. So they that means they are official World Championships.
Cool. And you have been representing Germany several times, right?
Yeah, since 2017 or 18, I think. So that
cool.
That is also a big honor. So I love tournament fishing since years. I fished a lot of times in the Netherlands, the big events like WPC and also some of the YPC boats. And then, of course, I get the chance to go also tournament fishing for bass. What is for me the original way of tournament fishing, I would say. So so all the tournament fishing as we like to do it in Europe is coming more or less from bass fishing from the USA, to be honest, when you see how the competitions are made. And so I think that is always, for me, it was always a dream to fish really original bass tournaments. So I drive down to Italy often for the Italy Bass Nation tournaments with my buddy Tony. And these are official tournaments from the Bass organization. So the Bass Nation is the same that they have in America. So that means there are in Spain and Portugal and several other places around the world, there are Bass nations that can qualify with their local tournaments for an open tournament in the USA. So that was always the dream to get that chance. That was why I started bass tournament fishing in Italy, and then I got the chance to enter the German black bass national team. And honestly, since that's for me the most important tournament every year. So it is, in my opinion, it is a big honor to represent a country. We are a country. Germany is a country without bass.
Yeah,
which means it is always everybody is always a little bit laughing in the positive way when we're talking about that. Also, the US guys are always really confused about that. But that makes it even more special that we, in the last year, are able to really stick up to the big countries usually, and we always ended in okay results and also sometimes really good. So 2019 we win the bronze medal in South Africa. And 2023, we won the silver medal in Portugal against the USA, and we was tied in the end. So the final decision was up, I think, around 10 to 15 grams. In the end, it was a super close decision. And if you have the chance to stand side by side with Scott Martin, Jacob Wheeler, and that guys, and wait who will win the gold medal, that's a huge honor for a bass fisherman, for a young guy like me from Germany.
Yeah, from a country that doesn't even have bass.
Exactly, and so that's always a really special event. And now that we are into that since years, it's also really nice to really have a big amount of friends around the world when it comes to bass fishing. So also to say that the US guys, the superstar in that scenes, are really, they know who we are. Let's say it like this. So when you're sitting on the boat and Jacob Wheeler is walking by and is yelling like, "Hey Lucas, hey Tony, how is it going?" and you're okay, a bit proud of that.
Yeah, so that's cool.
No, that's just a really cool thing. And also to have all these other nations, and normally the members of the national teams are usually more or less the same. So you're meeting every year the people there, and of course you have the chance to fish more or less every year in a new or in a special place in the world. So we had like Mexico, Portugal, Italy, South Africa, USA. And that's just special. And as you said before, South Africa is a super nice place. And South Africa is it's a perfect place for a lot of different types of fishing. That's the reason why they usually always do the World Fishing Games. What is like, let's say it like a little bit like the Olympic Games. That means every piece of, or every kind of fishing, like I said, carp fishing, fly fishing, pole fishing, feeder fishing, whatever, all this different kind are taking place in one country when it comes to the World Fishing Games.
Okay.
They was like in 2019, there was then the last time in South Africa, and now next year they will taking place again in South Africa. So that means we are quite often in the last years in South Africa, and so I really know a couple of places there quite good, and I just can say it's a beautiful place. It's amazing for bass fishing, and if the special thing there, in my opinion, is that it is a place, one of the few places out of America where you can catch really giant bass. So there are fish around 5 kilo plus possible. That are huge fish. And of course, in tournament fishing, you are never get that fish. You always see them, but it is in a tournament, it's super hard to catch that really big ones. But no, it's just as a country, South Africa, it's so nice. It's the nature it's stunning, and also the fishing is really nice. The people are nice. So all in all, South Africa is for me one of the places that I really love on this planet. And I had an honor to visit a lot of different areas in the world for fishing and just for fun trips as well. And I need to say South Africa and also the African countries are catching me always. So it is super nice there. And so if one of the viewers have the chance to go to South Africa for fishing, you always should take that chance. So it can just be amazing. Yeah, it's nice fishing and really nice culture with a lot of nice people and super nice nature.
But thinking back to this whole thing with Germany not even having bass, I know me and I think Albin Shargi talked about this for many years ago, that if you would put Scandinavians against American bass anglers, because American bass anglers, they fish bass every day, all year round.
Yeah.
And then here comes you, German guys. You can only fish for bass when you actually go on a trip for bass, and you still almost won against them in Portugal, like you said. And I mean, you're really giving them a hard time in the competition. I mean, they are doing this all year round professionally, and you're I mean, you're giving them a run for their money. Like we talked about this many years ago. It feels like if you come in with a different mindset and the way of how we fish for pike, perch, and sander, like that could be an opportunity and maybe a good base level for fishing for bass, and you can bring a lot of that knowledge into bass fishing. And it seems like you guys are really showing that that's possible. Do you think that your whole background from predatory fishing in Europe has a big part of your success in bass fishing?
Definitely, yeah. So I think, especially, of course, the perch fishing here in Europe makes us always strong when it comes to finesse fishing. That means that's also what I would say every country is saying when it comes to bass fishing. Everyone is looking for Germany. Also, so the you have to be honest. The most types of waters in the USA are more, they're not so much into the finesse fishing, or let's say the finesse fishing is coming in the last years in the USA also more and more. You see it with the Japanese guys who are really climbing up in the leaderboards and really catching a lot of blue trophies in the Bassmasters, for example,
Yeah.
compared to years before. So I think the finesse stuff was not really important in the years before. So the fishing pressure also in the USA was keeping up really crazy, or is keeping up really crazy. So that means the fish are also getting more smarter, and you have to go more finesse fishing in some, or more into the finesse fishing in some places. And that's, I think, what us as North or as European fishermen at all makes us quite strong in this point. And I think, of course, that we as predator fishermen, we have a lot of really different experience, for the reason that we're fishing for three different species. Of course, they are similar in some points, but you also have to jump around in techniques, and to really be able, for in our tournaments, for example, to catch in one day perch, pikes, and sander. And the bass guys are just focused on the bass, what makes it, of course, harder to beat them in bass fishing, but gives us the opportunity to be able to really adapt quick to different situations and to different techniques. I think that's a big plus that we have. So I'm pretty sure if you would make a really let's say a challenge out of that, and take some of the best guys from the USA against some of the best in Europe, I'm pretty sure we would really catching good there. The biggest difference that I can honestly say that I experienced over the years when it comes to what's the difference between a professional guy out of the USA and compared to us as professional anglers from Europe, it's the main thing is the understanding about the water at all. So you see that it is, in my opinion, still crazy how quick the guys can adapt and can understand a water that they never fished before. So that was in Portugal, for example, really crazy. So we need to be honest. Our good result comes really in the end to a really hard training session that we did there. So we were 3 weeks in Portugal.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so we was able to practice 1.5, close to 2 weeks, and then one competition week. So that means we know the lake. We was every day out, and we was able to adapt also to the situation in that special time of the year there. But the USA guys, for example, Jacob Wheeler, flied in, I think, 1 day before the official practice. So they had 1 day plus and 2 official practice days, and they was able to break down the lake in more or less, let's say 1.5, 2 days, and they know what's up. And for us it takes close to 2 weeks. So of course, in the end, we know a lot about a lot of different spots, but when it comes to the tournament, you see the US guys more or less in the same areas, and we also talked after the tournament with the guys, and they told us nearly the same what we find out in that 1.5 weeks, but they was just overall with the competition, there was like 4-5 days on the lake, so that's not, you cannot compare that. So you really, it's really crazy to see how fast they are to adapt. So that means they know they also taking, I think they start when they have their lake and they say, okay, we need to break down this lake as quick as possible. I think they start on way smaller parts than we are doing it. So they try to understand as fast as possible about the bait fish, about everything what's happened to the bait fish, and then they start from that on. I spoke with Jacob and Scott Martin and the guys about that, and they was like, yeah, you have to watch what is the bait fish eating right now in this time of the year. So usually when we are going on a lake, of course, we're also trying to find the bait fish or the structure with the food for the predators. But in the end, the most of the anglers are usually not really are focusing what happens before the bait fish. So what is the
No,
bait fish
no.
targeting, and so the point when it comes to water quality, water clarity, water temperatures, bait fish, all that, they are so quick to adapt. And I think that's mainly for the reason that they have so many experience and many lakes where they can compare. So they have in the USA, I would say, nearly all types of lakes that you can imagine. That they have clear water lakes, they have rocky lakes, they have lakes with a lot of cover, they have river systems. So that means they are really quick to say, okay, I have in my head this water matches to this and this lake in the USA, so we can really break it quick down, and in the most time it works. It was the same thing on Bolsena. We was on Bolsena 2024 for the world champs, right? Yeah, 24. The world champs was on Bolsena, and the US guys, they flied in, I think 3 days before the competition or something like this, or 4 days. So they really came quick from they came straight from the hotel down to the harbor, and we was in this time in the harbor and was just rigging our boats. And I remember it was Fred Rambanes and I think Scott Martin. They was talking about that. They walk by and just looking in the lake, and they say immediately, "You see that lake looks exactly with that grass and like I don't remember the lake, but one lake in the USA." And after the event, I asked them and say, "Hey, was it for you a good thing to remember that kind of water from the USA?" And Fred Rambanes told me, yeah, it's more or less the same with the grass and the clear water. And but you think, okay, that's crazy. It's on another side of the world, but it's matching the hedge still. So
That's
they
so
are
cool.
that and yeah, that's super cool. But it is impressive, but also sometimes a bit frustrating, to be honest, when you know that you will never reach that level of knowledge when it comes to different waters, for the reason that, yeah, in this point the USA is unique.
That's super cool to hear. And
Yeah.
I thought it was so fun to go down to Bolsena on the YPC bass. We only got a couple of hours of practice, but it felt like, oh, we got it because I didn't have basically any experience of bass before that. And we had some nice bass in the boat just from that afternoon. And it felt like, well, okay, cool. We might catch some cool fish in the tournament. Day after tournament day, my God. But we did
Yeah.
catch a nice double there, but I mean, in general, we had no freaking idea what we were doing. It was like the first day it was the easiest fish in the world to catch, it felt like. And then the day after in the tournament, man, it felt like I've never held a fishing pole before. It was so difficult.
Yeah.
And then seeing all the other guys just swinging big swim baits and also wacky rigs at the same time was working. It's such a different technique. And just
Yeah.
playing on the instincts of the bass and also understanding the water and all this, it was such an eye opener for me to just understand why this is a perfect tournament fish. It is so
Yeah.
diverse and
100%.
it is so well adapted, and there is so many techniques. And like right there, I could see so clearly that, I mean, you really need to know what to swing. And it was such a cool experience. Even though, I mean, we got crushed, it doesn't matter because the experience was eye-opening for me. It was such a
Yeah.
cool way to experience bass.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the fishing industry, more or less everything is coming originally from bass fishing. So everything have a lot of not everything, but a lot of the techniques and the baits and the brands are having their roots into bass fishing. That means that just shows you how much ways and how much techniques it can you can use for that kind of fish. And as you said, that's the reason why it is that special kind of fish and that special, that tournament fish. And that makes you on the other side also sometimes completely crazy. So I had the situation this year here in Sardinia as well. So the Omodeo, the lake where I'm mainly guiding, was really, really full this year. So a high water level.
Just to make it clear,
And
because these lakes in Sardinia, they are controlled by hydro energy, right? They're what do you call it? Hydro
they are
plants.
dams. So
exactly. They have quite a bit of difference in water level from time to
Yeah,
time.
completely. Yeah, so usually you have between summer and let's say fall, so really the lowest point in the year, you have usually, or you can have easy 10 meters difference between the water level. Yeah, it's
How
crazy.
does this affect your way of launching the boats and actually being able to fish? Like that must be a challenge.
Yeah, a lot. So you're just quick when it comes to launching the boat in the spring. It's usually when you have ramps on the lakes, what is not always the case, but if you have a ramp in the spring, you can usually always launch easy. So the ramp is it's really good reachable, so that's not a problem. It gets more funny as it comes into summer and fall. So then you really sometimes you you launch your boat 6-7 meters under the end of the ramp. So the good thing is the lakes here are usually they have sand or rocky bottom.
Okay,
that means
that's good.
there is it's not really muddy or something. That's usually it's usually possible to launch your boat when you have a 4x4 car. But
cool.
but of course it is always funny. In the spring it's easy, and in fall it's really rough. Then it's really like southern, close to Africa style, just lounge where the boat fits.
But does that create opportunity for you as an angler, that the water gets super compressed, or the fish actually gets very compressed into smaller areas in the fall when the water disappears? Like they should be more concentrated in some areas.
Definitely. So it's super nice to experience the cycle of the fishing in 1 year there. So you have the spring, where of course the lake is super full. This year it was as high as it never was before, for the reason that they make some tryouts with new water levels, so they build up the dam a bit more, and so it was super full. What gives you the chance to fish really in backwaters where never was water before.
Cool.
That's super nice for fishing, and it's super nice when it comes to nature view and stuff, but it is tough for catching fish. So the lake is double of the size, and is more as double when it is in fall. That means that the fish can spread out, and it's not easy to find them. And of course, that gets better and better over the year when the water level drops. But it also changed completely the way of fishing. So for me, I would not say it's better when it comes to the fall season. So it is still super nice for me. A lot of people ask me, what is the best time in the year to come to Sardinia and fish? And honestly, I really need to say there is no best time. It depends a little bit on what do you want. But the fishing is all around the year phenomenal. But in spring, you have the chance to catch big fish. They are in pre-spawn, they are heavy, and they are fat. That means, of course, if you catch a 50 in this time, it's a 2.5 or 2.3 kilo or more. And you can catch fish up to 3 kilo plus there in the pre-spawn. So, but you have to deal with it that you maybe catch just 3 or 4 fish per day. So that means it is tougher, but the outcome can be crazy when it comes to a big fish. What is super nice for fishing. Then it moves into the post-spawn season. After the spawn, then the fish are more active. Then you catch way more numbers, but the bigger fish are skinny, and they are not so easy to catch, for the reason that a lot of small fish are around. That means you can catch easily 20, 30, 35 fish per day or more. But the numbers of the bigger fish are less, and the fish are not super fat, but it's still nice to catch fish. So it's still nice fishing. And then it comes to the summer and fall season, where you can catch your big fish on nice techniques like mid-strolling or crankbait fishing or weightless worms or weightless craws in backslide rigged into trees. They are in
Cool.
spring. Yeah, the trees in the spring the trees that you fish in the fall are in the spring like 10, 12 meters underwater. And in fall, they are just sticking out with the tips, or sometimes they are like 2 meters under the water. But then the fish move into the offshore structures. So that means like old walls, trees, old buildings, stuff like this, getting more interested in the summer and in the fall. And of course, also then you can catch your big fish. So the big fish are there all around, but they're changing all around the year, but they are changing their shapes. That means in the summer they are more skinny, in the fall they're getting fat again, in the spring they are super fat. That means you can catch them all year, but it's just a different outcome. It depends what do you want. So that's always my answer when someone asks when is the best time. So fishing is super nice all around the year. You just need to know what do you want to. And of course, to come back to your question, when the lake is getting lower, the fish really getting more pressure together. And then you can also sometimes find spots where a lot of big fish are sitting on. So I remember a couple of years ago when we had just a fun trip down here with some friends, I found a structure in the lake where I catch every day, like 2 or 3 days in a row, I catch 5 or 6 2 kilo plus fish out of that structure.
Oh shit.
So that was a structure that was just loaded with big fish, and so that's possible to have in every part of the year, but especially in the summer and in the fall season, you have sometimes crazy pattern where for the reason that this pattern is just in that time of the year. There, so in the other times the water level is too high, and the fish really starts to move into that. And if you find the right one, you can really have super nice fishing there. So
when you said that you came back to the same structure day after day and just hammered big fish, did you notice that any of them were recatches from the other days?
Yeah. I had it. I had it just 2 days ago. I
Cool.
had a guiding with a guy who broke off a fish on a stone. So the fish bites really in a stone structure on a wacky rig, what is usually also a lighter line. So the fish broke off, and I was spot locking on that spot. So we hold the spot and we tied again. And honestly, really, after the cast where he snapped the line, the next cast he get a bite again, hooked the fish. We lined the fish. It was like a 1.8 kilo fish, so a nice fish. And he had the Senko with the line in his mouth. So it was like the fish bites. He was on, then he broke the line. The fish went back to the structure. We take like 3, 4, 5 minutes to rig a new rod or rig the new bait. He make the next cast, and the fish bites again.
Yeah.
So that maybe answer your question.
Yeah. They're hungry fellows.
This fish they are crazy sometimes. And I had this year, I think at least 3 times that exactly this happened, that you catch a fish on the same day or sometimes in the next cast where you broke it off before. So it's crazy,
interesting to see, because I've seen that pattern more and more with both pike and perch. Like we have pike. I had a 114 on a competition a couple of years ago on the pike fight, and I hooked it, caught it and everything, released it, took one cast, nothing, second cast, boom, it hit again, just with one cast in between, and 114.
Yeah,
that's
crazy
how they attack sometimes.
Absolutely.
But what were you gonna say there about? Because we got into this about hydro dams and stuff, but you were talking about. We were talking about like different style of lures and techniques can really change something, and you were gonna tell me about a situation you had, like about that. But I was talking about the wacky rigs and and the swim bait working at the same time, and you said you had a cool story, but then we kind of got into dam situation. Do you remember what you were gonna say?
Let me just think about it. I honestly don't remember exactly a special situation where I maybe had before in my head, but let's talk a little bit about it. Maybe it comes back. When it comes to that, definitely the crazy thing is the bass is it is a really, I would say, a really aggressive and smart predator. What makes it sometimes, as you said, the easiest fish to catch, and sometimes you are going crazy and think that's not possible. That yesterday you catch the fish. I think I remember now what I had this year. I remember what I want to tell you. I had this spring that you caught on a particular spot. You caught two, three nice big fish, and sometimes the day or 2 days after there was no fish at all, but there was on the same structure just like 500 meters or 1 kilometers on another place, but the fish are moving around every time. So you know that the fish are around, that you know that you can catch them. That's the nice thing on bass. So the most of the time there is something that works. So the tackle box is full of stuff. You have just to find the right thing. So that's a cool thing on bass. I hadn't it often. I think when I compare it to normal predator fishing, I had not often the situation that I was not able to catch the fish. It was sometimes not easy to catch the bigger ones. But when you really stick to the fish and you try out a different stuff, or you maybe come back to the fish later, so if you spot one particular area where you know there is a fish around the bigger one, especially when we're talking about the tournament fishing, then sometimes you just have to hit the right spot during the day. So we had this here in the last days often. So it is really hot in Sardinia in the last 2 weeks. So during midday, the fishing is, I would say, tough, but sometimes it's exactly the key. So if you find in that hot time the shading place where it's a lot of shadow, where the fish can hide in the shade, then it can be really the fishing can be really on. And I had this situation with a structure here in the lake where I went in the morning there, and I know the fish are there. So we hit the structure with everything, and we tried with jerkbait, topwater, swim bait, finesse stuff, everything, and we caught one nice fish. But normally you catch numbers there, so we just go on, fish some other structures, go a bit deeper, and catch some nice fish, and went back to the structure when it was really hot during the day. And then we caught in, I think, 20 to 25 minutes, we caught 3 big fish there. So, and really like they never seen a lure before. They was aggressive. They really, so that means for me, the bass is during the day definitely catchable. You just have to be with the right bait in the right time on the right spot. And that's sometimes really easy. So when they have sometimes they have a big feeding window. So if they are really, for example, in pre-spawn, it's sometimes really difficult to catch them. So for the reason that the fishes focus on the spawning, they mean they want to search their beds, they want to search the spawning areas. So I'm not talking about the particular spawning time, I talked the pre-spawn. So it's really important to say that. So in spawn, we don't fish for the fish that are on the beds. So of course we let them rest and let them spawn. But in the pre-spawn, when the big fish are searching their beds, so just to give a quick overview, the small fish is the male usually, and the males are building the beds. So that means they are going, the small fish are into the shallows a bit earlier and start to building beds and to make the nicest bed for the female bass. That means in South Africa we found a bed where a bass, we saw that he puts a small white stone in his mouth and swim into the bed and place this white stone in the middle of the bed. And Anton, the South African teammate of us, he's a really experienced fisherman when it comes to pre-spawn. So in South Africa, they fish a lot in the pre-spawn and also in the spawn. And he said he sees it often that the bass try to really, to make the bed looking nicer for the females, to have the chance to get the biggest female in their bed and spawn with the biggest female. So that means the small fish are going in, building beds, and the big fish are cruising around and searching for that beds. That means in the pre-spawn, we are able to catch super big fish when we are covering structure. That means we need to cover waters. We need to find the cruising big fish. And when they are locked on the beds, when they found their bed, then they don't want to eat. They just fight against everything what comes into the bed. And that's the time when you have to stop fishing. So then when you do that, then you can scare the fish too much and they stop spawning, and then you destroy the spawn for that year. So that's important to don't do that. But pre-spawn, it's another thing. So that means you're searching for that cruising fish. And the post-spawn is when the big fish are done with the spawning. Then the male is protecting the fries, the small bass, and the eggs, and the female is moving out. And then they are hungry, they want to eat, so you can catch them again really good. And after all that, when the spawn is completely done, then they move on to the deeper structure. But that's how it works when we're talking about the spawn. And in this period of the year, you can catch them in 1 week in the pre-spawn on a lot of things. Then they stop eating, and then after in post-spawn you can catch them also on a lot of things. That's usually the time when, especially the post-spawn, when you have the feeling that it is the easiest fish on the world. So they want to eat, they want to get fat again, and then we had this year. Then the fishing stops from one day to the other completely, and the fish move deeper. And then you have to focus on your special periods during the day when they have a feeding window. So that means this crazy feeding situation in pre-spawn, when they want to get fat and want to eat, stops on one day, or let's say in one period. But what we had it this year really with 1 or 2 days in different. And after that, they just eat in feeding windows. That means you have to be able to switch your mind also quick between the easy fishing in the post spawn to the good fishing, to the feeding window fishing during the summertime now. So that means then it can be really difficult when you don't know where the fish are or in which time they eat. So that's something that is on the bass, I think, really special when you compare it to our predators. I think it's sometimes also like this, but not so crazy like it is for the bass fishing. And cool. If they are hungry and if they want to eat, then you can catch them on big swim baits, on top waters, on jerk baits and stuff. And for the reason that you say, on Bolsena, for example, you saw that people were throwing swim baits, and on the same day or nearly the same time they're catching also on super finessey stuff. It's usually why the big fish are with the big swim bait. You can always catch the attention of the bigger fish. So they want to look always on that bait. They don't want to always grab it, but they want to look at it. It's always for example, when we're fishing for tournament practice, we often using swim baits without hooks, just to see the fish. That means with a big swim bait, you can move a lot of bass. They want to come up, they want to see the bait. They maybe don't bite, but they are in the area. And so that's a reason why you can throw a big swim bait always when you want to find the fish or when you want to have a chance for a big fish. So usually on the swim bait, the fish are most of the time big. And if they are big enough to grab the lure, or if they are hungry enough, then you can catch a super big fish. That's the reason why often in the morning, or when you have your 5 fish in the live well, you are targeting for a bigger fish, then you often go with a swim bait to get that one giant fish in the best case. But on the same time, to catch your top 5 or to catch to secure your tournament weight, you can be always with a finesse rig like a wacky, you can be always sure that you catch your fish. That means when you make an overview about a normal fishing day, you try in the morning to catch 1 or 2 active hunting big fish, what you can do with a top water, with a swim bait or a jerk bait. And after that, you start to catch, or to try to catch, of course, as big as possible, but you can try to catch your 5 secured fish with a wacky rig. And if you have your 5 in a box, and in the best case, 1 big fish or 2 big fish from the morning, then you can start to go back to a big bait just to catch that one giant that can secure you a big bag, for example. That means you can catch during one day, in the morning or in the afternoon, or also sometimes during the day, but most of the times in the morning or in the evening, you can catch a big fish on a swim bait, but you can catch in the same time a lot of fish and also nice fish on wacky rigs, just for the reason that they change their way of hunting during the day. This means in the morning they are hunting the bait fish, and during the day when it's getting warmer, they stay into the grass in Bolsena, for example, and they are not super active. So they hunt maybe 3-4 times during the day for a small group of bait fish that went through the weeds, but most of the time they are standing in the grass and eating some creatures, worms and stuff what is in the grass. And if you go finesse, you can catch this fish in the same day as you can catch a big fish in the morning, also on a swim bait, for example. So that's a bit to give you an overview why you are able to do that with the bass. And often, I would say, when the bikes are biting on big lures, you don't need to throw a small lure during the day usually.
No. When it comes to bass fishing, like, techniques are so well adapted to it, but what would you say is the most overrated technique in bass fishing?
The most overrated techniques.
Yeah.
I think that's hard to say as an overall thing. I think that's more situational. For me,
what do you think?
For me, I think it's a good question. I never thought about this. Like, when I start now to think, it's a big process that's going on now. So there's a lot of things that I think honestly
like, what technique do you have with you, like, mostly, but you could mainly leave at home and not be bothered?
Honestly, it's frog fishing, but that's just for the reason that we don't have the structures in the lake here that are super good for frogs. So of course you can catch fish on frogs, but usually not really big fish. And for example, now in this time of the year when they really, or let's say when they like topwaters, they usually are going for bait fish. So the frog is not the main target. And when you are in the spring and the fish are hunting in the shallows, the frog was also never the best. So it is something that I always have with me, but I not use it often, or I don't catch a lot of fish on. So I love frog fishing, and when for example South Africa there was areas in the river full of lily pads and stuff, there we catch a lot of fish on frog, and it's one of the techniques that I love the most. But here in Italy, in Sardinia especially, there are on the big lakes not a lot of opportunities to catch with frogs. Of course, I would never say frog fishing is an overrated technique. So it is.
It must be one of the most fun techniques for bass in general in the world. Like, I think.
Yeah. So let's just to answer that question quick in the way how I thought about it. I think there is not really overrated techniques, for the reason that, in my opinion, in bass fishing, nearly everything comes from tournament fishing, and tournament fishing is normally always about efficiency. That means the techniques that are coming out from tournaments, for example, now the koiki baits and stuff.
Urchin baits.
Yeah, exactly. They are super crazy to look, but they come from the reason that they catch crazy fish on it and win several tournaments with that. So that means I would never say that's overrated techniques, even when I'm not catching a lot of fish on it here. What maybe means that I didn't really find the key right now with it, or the fish don't like it here. But all in all, it's a technique that wins more or less millions of dollars already. That means I think you cannot say it's overrated.
But do you think that those kind of techniques, like the fuzzy baits and the urchins, do you think they come from waters that are heavily pressured, and the bass completely, they've seen everything? You need to just play under curiosity to just bite something just on pure curiosity.
Yeah, 100%. That's in my opinion a huge part of it.
Yeah,
pretty sure. So you see that on the most lakes where these baits are performing crazy, these are lakes that are really super pressured. So I think Santee Cooper, the Bassmaster on Santee Cooper was one. Not sure who won it, but also on a koiki bait. I think it was one of the Johnson brothers. Anyway, Sandy Cooper is probably one of the most pressured lakes in the USA. When you speak with the guys there, and they say Sandy Cooper is super nice, but it's pressured crazy. So of course it makes sense that these lakes, this kind of baits are now working really, really well. I think I experienced the same, honestly, with the mid-strolling. I know that mid-strolling is a technique that is on some areas really the key to catch super big and a lot of fish. For example, Bolsena, it's a super nice lake for mid-strolling, for the reason that the fish are nearly all year long targeting on bait fish. And if you find them in the open water, you can catch them super good on mid-strolling. But here especially here on Modeo Lake, until now, when we have higher water levels, the fish don't need to really focus on open water bait fish. They more focus on structure, on craws, on bait fish that are also into the structure. But there is a mid-strolling rig is not necessary. And when it comes now to fall, then the fish are going into that offshore trees and offshore rock areas and the old buildings and stuff. And then you have the fish in depth of usually between 4 and 7 meters. And then the mid-strolling comes really it really comes to play. And it's a really important technique for the reason that on the open water structure, the fish is mainly targeting on bait fish that are crossing that structure, and then the mid-strolling is something that works really, really well. That means now the mid-strolling rod is usually just in the locker, and I try it sometimes, and it not really work well. So that means right now I also could say mid-strolling is overrated, but it isn't. It just needs to be the right time in the year, and it's the same with the high-pressured USA lakes. You see, the mid-strolling was really was turning the bass world around with the live scope together. Everyone was talking about that, and a lot of crazy results was caught on mid-strolling. And I think that's also a reason it's compared maybe the same like the predator fishing in Europe when it comes with a live scope to the pelagic and sharpshooting stuff. It's the same. There's a couple of fish in a lake that are not staying on structures. They are not staying on the shore. They are open water fish. They are cruising around. And there was, in the last years, there was just with trolling guys, but normally they was more or less unpressured. And with live scope and mid-strolling, you are now able to catch these fish. And the fish don't know the baits before. They are more or less like unfished in the last years before. That means they go crazy on that baits. You can catch them really good. They don't know what is a hook. And now I think it's the same in Sweden. You feel that, especially in the Netherlands, but also in the German waters where I fished, you feel after 3-5 years of heavy live scope pressured lakes, also the open water fish are getting super spooky and really picky. So it's I think now they are on the point that they learned on the hard way what is a bait in the open water. So that's the same thing with the bass fishing, just that they have bigger lakes and bigger waters. But if you listen to podcasts from US guys or videos, they all say that also the mid-strolling is not as good as it was in the years before now, for the reason that the fish know now the techniques and are pressured also in the open water.
They learn quickly.
Yeah, they learn. Yeah.
But I'm going to hit you with another difficult question here, especially for a bass guy. This is going to be a difficult one. If you only could use, I would say first, like if you only could use 3 lures, but I will narrow it down or give you a wider perspective of it and make it easier for you. If you could only use 3 techniques for the rest of your life to fish for bass, which 3 techniques would it be?
Yeah, first of all,
as a European bass guy.
Yeah. A weightless lure, or weightless, let's call it a Senko, a weightless Senko. So that's definitely the number one. So that would be also the bait when you would ask me what is the one lure that I can take with the whole life. It's the Senko. It's a normal worm, but it's the most efficient bait all around the year.
That's so cool. It's been so for so many years. When did the Senko come out, or worms in general? It's the oldest lure in bass fishing, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. You are right. That's totally crazy, especially when we come back to what we talked about before. That techniques like mid-strolling and stuff gets now really quick. overhyped, and also the fish start to know everything. And a bait like a Senko works every time on every fish nearly and everywhere around the world. That's the crazy part.
How
It's
did they don't
nothing
learn?
yeah, it's insane. But there must be something that why they are not able to learn it on that bait. But yeah, that's the good part for us as a
Yeah,
fisherman. The Senko is most of the time it's a secured bait. So that would be my number one technique, of course. Then
that's so cool.
my second choice would be a jig. So when we're talking about a jig in bass fishing, we're talking about a rubber jig. So with the skirted jig. A jig is always a bait for big fish. So when they start eating on cross, what all bass, but especially the big bass, loves to do, then a jig is really good. So you have a big profile, you have a nice. Usually you can match it nice with the craw as a trailer, so you have a nice colorway that you can match. And so for me, that's probably during the year close to the Senko, the best bait. And the third would be probably a soft swim bait, what means honestly just a paddle tail soft bait, as we know it from pike or perch fishing, center fishing as well. But I learned it this year, and I had it last year also in South Africa. That a super simple paddle tail soft bait is sometimes crazy. So especially when they feed on bait fish in cover, it's the best way to get them on this lure. So you can rig it offset, or you can use a really shallow running version, and then you can throw it in really in the cover in the trees, and you can catch the fish that are feeding on bait fish also in cover way easier than with a strolling or something with an open hook. So and I had catch this year a lot of big fish on paddle tail swim baits. So
Cool.
for me, they come. I would say they are quite new in my bass heart, but they are really taking a big part of it. So it makes it super fun. So even smaller fish are hammering that lures and really they grabbing the whole thing. And I like to use white colors, for example, and stuff. And quite often you have the situation that you see the white lure coming between the trees, and then the white is gone and you just feel the bite. So that's super fun. And so for me personally, wacky jig and a soft paddle tail is my way to go for the top three.
Cool. And just a quick question also, because what do you think is more important, the lure or technique, or the lure and technique, or the color? What is the most important?
I would say in the end the color.
The color.
So yeah, for me, I can give you an example.
Please.
I have here the situation. I talked about that with in the last week with a guy. I have a couple of different places where I know there are structures where the fish are into, and right now it's more a bit deeper structure. So I fish there often with a jig, and I know the jig is working there, but I went to the structure, and this guy said to I told him, take the black and blue jig in 10 gram. That was the best here. I don't like black and blue. I hate this color. I say, of course, I can understand if you don't want to, grab whatever you want to, but take a jig. And then he grabbed I think it was a pumpkin chartreuse, so also really good color usually. And he grabbed the jig and started casting and catch nothing. And then he said to me, so usually on a guiding, I don't really fish. So sometimes the people want that I fish with them, that they can see. So then I grab a rod, and he said to me, hey, if you are sure that there are fish, show me. So it was just a fun talk. And then I grabbed my rod where a black and blue jig was mounted on, and I make, I think, 2 or 3 casts, and I catch a 2-kilo fish there. And then I catch another fish after a couple of minutes, and then he said, okay, give me the black and blue jig. And I give him the black and blue jig, and he catch, I think, 3 more fish there. So that for me was clear that the fish, they like to feed on the jig, but the color was the key. So probably this black and blue gives the perfect give the perfect mix of the water clarity and of the watercolor and the color of the bait. So it's black and blue is a color that really sticks out when it's dark water as well, when it's clear water also. So that means for me, black and blue is a really nice color, for example, for bass fishing. And in this moment, the black and blue just catch the attention of the fish more than every other color. So of course we didn't try the whole box of jigs, to be honest, but especially on a really good color. So green pumpkin is always a color that works nice for bass fishing. And compared to the black and blue, it was clear that the color makes a difference. So also the trailer and yeah, exactly. So for me, I had this often that I know that the bait is working, but the color makes the difference. So that's also, for example, on the paddle tail, I have I use I really love to use the Berkeley Cull Shed. It's like a pre-rigged soft bait with a treble hook on the belly, and it is like a typical soft paddle tail swim bait. And I have it in 3 different colors, like 2 natural colors like carp and stuff, roach styles, and 1 white, completely white. And normally you would say also in clearer water a natural color should work way better. But the white swim bait, and I really don't know why, it's all around the world like this, to be honest. If you look the videos and stuff and you speak with fishermen around the world for bass, white swim baits, especially soft swim baits, are catching the attention of the bass always better than other colors.
Just like with flukes. Flukes also.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect example. I forgot about this. I fished this year a lot with flukes in the spring. I love it to fish flukes in between the grass and the shallow water. And we tried out a couple of times different colors, and always the white fluke is the one that they are going on. And also on top water, it's the bone color on a Sarah Spook, what is probably old school oldest bass top water you can imagine, but it is usually the key. So I don't know why, but that's also proving the point that the bait is working, but the color makes a difference for me.
That's cool. I had this discussion with a really good pike angler from the north of Sweden, and we talked about colors. And I have earlier, there's this color headlight on soft lures that is it is mainly homogeneous white with a little bit of glitter and a little bit green back, but it's mostly 99% white. And I've always thought of it as a natural color, but in the recent years, I've started to gravitate more towards a completely white lure that is not transparent is actually not, in my opinion, it is not a natural color, because I mean nothing is completely white. It has reflective like scales are reflective. White is actually, it's like chartreuse. It's really aggressive in the water. And I've just because I don't really like those sharp colors like green, lime and stuff like that. And then I just all of a sudden just realized that I've been fishing that kind of colors for so many years, thinking that they are natural. But I have, of course, gravitated towards that white is absolutely not natural in my sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's you can name in the end like 10, 15 examples like that in the end.
Yeah.
Or more. For that reason, I would go with the color.
Yeah, cool.
Paint your crest.
Do you think the same when it comes to perch is a bit different, but for pike fishing, do you think the color is the difference, or is it the lure, the size and the sound and
Yes, I'm not as clear as it is for bass fishing for me, but I remember a lot of situations where I let's say I'm not a big fan of changing lures all day long. So I have my baits that I like, that I trust, and that I'm usually throwing. So I have it often that I trust that one lure, but just move on to change colors and find difference during the day, that one color was better than another color. But I think quite often for pike fishing, I think when you compare the pike fishing from Germany up to Sweden, for example, it's a big difference. let's say in my area. I fished a lot on the river, on an industrial river, but it's not. You have not a lot of super nice structure. It's sometimes you have some small lakes by side with a lot of grass and stuff. But I think you have not such a nice ecosystem as you have there in your big lakes with big schools of bait fish and stuff like this. And I think when you have this and you really study the pike fishing more, I think you can really find way more differences in that. But for me, the pike fishing, especially in my areas, was always like to find the fish and then to figure out a bit around the colors. But I would say in pike fishing, in my experience, it's not super crazy, the difference between colors. It's more like hitting the right spot at the right time, and the fish wants to eat. So I think I'm not super sure if I would go with it, but in the end, probably I'm more a color changing than a lure changing fan. So I would say, the color change I would go with the color change still. So
interesting.
I think having a bait that you're trusting in and just trying out the colors is for me always the way how I like to go. Of course, someone else is more into the bait style or technique style changing guy. I try to stay with what I trust and move around with the bait colors.
Cool. And what would you say is the technique for bass fishing that you use way too less, that you feel that you would benefit more of using it more often?
I can tell you this 100% on the spot. It's
that's a cliffhanger I'm kind of proud of, but stay tuned for next week's episode with Lukas, where we continue our talk and get into a lot more cool stuff. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to keep up to speed, go and follow Time is Fish International on Instagram. Now have a fantastic day or night, and I'll see you on the water.